ಆಗಿರಲ್ಲ join ಎಲ್ಲ. Good morning, students. Hello, am I audible? Hello. Students, am I audible?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Right. So in previous class we have started with calcium. Right. Do you remember? What all we have seen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, its distribution throughout the body. What are the sources? Right. Recommended daily allowance, absorption, and functions we have completed in previous class. Right. And then just we have started that. We'll see regulation of blood calcium level in next class, like that I told, and which are the organs involved in regulation of the calcium, that I just informed you in the previous class. So how it is regulated, that we'll see in this class along with its deficiency manifestations, and if possible we'll cover the phosphorus also. Okay, so this slide we have seen earlier only, that plasma calcium normal level
Yes,
is
ma'am.
9 to 11 milligram per cent, which are the organs involved and which are the hormones involved, right? So how these hormones and these organs, they involve in maintaining the blood calcium level within normal limits, that is 9 to 11. Usually we say, but theoretically it can be accepted if you write 8.5 to 11. That is also correct. 8.5 to 11 milligram per cent. That is also correct theoretically. But practically we usually say that it is in between 9 to 11 milligram per cent. Clear? Now, how these hormones, with this involvement of these organs, it play important role. We'll see one by one. How parathyroid hormone, how vitamin D, how calcitonin, they will affect on these organs, so that it help to maintain the blood calcium level within normal limits. So, you know that hormones are steroidal in nature, they are proteinous in nature, right? Like that, parathyroid hormone and calcitonin, they are the peptides, that is, they are proteinous in nature. So they contain amino acids. Parathyroid hormone contains about 84 amino acids. So it is a polypeptide which is secreted by the chief cells in the parathyroid gland. So 4 parathyroid gland, they secrete this parathyroid hormone. So how this parathyroid hormone acts? It binds to the membrane receptor protein on the target cell. You know that hormones act on the target organ, target cells. So this parathyroid hormone binds to a membrane receptor protein on the target cells, and then it activates the enzyme, that is adenylate cyclase. It activates the enzyme adenylate cyclase, so that it can liberate cyclic AMP, and you know that this cyclic AMP is a secondary messengers, so it helps to increase level of this intracellular calcium level. So prime function of this parathyroid hormone is to increase the calcium level, or to increase the concentration of the calcium in the blood. So the parathyroid hormone elevates the serum calcium level. So this parathyroid hormone, though it elevates the serum calcium level, it acts on different organs in different way. How it acts on bone, how it acts on kidney, and how on the intestine, that we will see. So bone, obviously, to increase calcium level means it has to enhance or stimulate the decalcification or demineralization of the bone. So demineralization, mainly it will be carried out in osteoclast. You know osteoclast and osteoblast, right? So the calcium which is present here, it is that is demineralized or decalcified with the help of the parathyroid hormone, and it takes place in osteoclast of bone, right? So this demineralization, what will happen? Mineralization, utilization of this calcium to form bone, while as demineralization, calcium will be removed from the bones. So demineralized. So calcium will be removed and thus it enters in the blood and it will increase the blood calcium level or serum calcium level. This action on bone is important in calcium homeostasis. This regulation of calcium, we call it as calcium homeostasis. So in examination, if you get a question calcium homeostasis, don't get confused, right? So regulation of calcium involved in these three different organs with the help of these three different hormones, you should explain. But this is being done at the expense of calcium from the bone, which is already present in the bone. That calcium will be lost. So in that way, the parathyroid hormone, it will demineralize, it will be involved in the demineralization reaction so that the calcium from the bone will be lost, so that it will enter, will be lost or removed, and where it will go? It will enter in the blood and thus the blood calcium level increases. Clear? Now how it acts on kidney? It increases the calcium reabsorption by the kidney tubules so that it will avoid the calcium excretion. It will avoid calcium excretion. All of you know that calcium is excreted in urine. In previous class, I told you that from 500 milligram of calcium, about that 400 will be excreted through the feces, and around 100 milligram will be excreted through the urine, right? So this parathyroid hormone increases the calcium reabsorption by the kidney tubules so that it will help to increase the blood calcium level. Parathyroid hormone also promotes the production of calcitriol. You know that this is the active form of vitamin D, which is also called as 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol, right? 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is the active form of vitamin D, which is also called as calcitriol. So the production of this calcitriol is promoted by this parathyroid hormone so that it will be hydrolyzed to form 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol. This 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol is necessary for absorption of the calcium in the intestine also. So in that way, parathyroid hormone helps in reabsorption of the calcium by the kidney tubules, as well as it promotes the production of calcitriol and thus helps in increasing the blood calcium level. So how it will act on the intestine? All of you know that intestine is the important organ where the 25 dihydroxycholecalciferol, it will play important role. It increases the intestinal absorption of calcium by promoting the synthesis of calcitriol. So it increases the intestinal absorption of calcium by promoting the synthesis of calcitriol. How it takes place? So with the help of under the skin, with the help of exposure to the sunlight. So this is about parathyroid hormone. Then how vitamin D or calcitriol, just now we have seen that the calcitriol increase and the parathyroid hormone promotes the production of calcitonin, and ultimately this vitamin D, it will help the increasing calcium absorption from the intestine by the synthesis of specific calcium binding protein in the intestinal cells. So this calcium binding protein help the renal tubular cells so that there will be the reabsorption of the calcium and thus blood calcium level increases. Also, if the calcium level is more, it increases the bone calcification and mineralization so that it will decrease the calcium. Vitamin D plays role both way. Either whenever you need renal tubular reabsorption of the calcium so that its level increases, and to decrease the calcium, it increases bone calcification and mineralization so that the calcium will be taken to the bone so that the level of concentration of the calcium from the blood will be decreased. So both ways this vitamin D plays important role. This is about second hormone. Now the third hormone, that is calcitonin. Calcitonin, I told you that it is one more polypeptide, while as vitamin D is a steroidal hormone. While as parathyroid hormone and calcitonin, they are peptides, peptide hormone or protein hormone. This is around 34 amino acid containing hormone which is secreted by the parafollicular cells in the thyroid gland. You have studied this in anatomy, right? Parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland. So what is its action is mainly it inhibits the osteoclastic bone resorption. Osteoclastic bone resorption. So that for that purpose it utilizes the calcium. Due to that it will help to decrease the blood calcium level. Right? Calcium is utilized so that it decreases the serum calcium level. So action of calcitonin is antagonist to that of parathyroid hormone because osteoblasts are involved or play important role with the help of this parathyroid hormone, and they will demineralize or decalcify, while as calcitonin it enhances the bone resorption. So osteoclasts are involved, and so that calcification and mineralization will be promoted. So major stimulus for calcitonin secretion is increased serum calcium level. When the calcium level increases, it will give a stimulus to the thyroid gland so that calcitonin secretion is increased, and thus it will help to increase the serum calcium level. Clear? Thus, and the calcitonin decreases the bone reabsorption, increases bone resorption, while as decreases bone reabsorption, and thus increases excretion of calcium in urine. Along with that, it increases the excretion of the calcium. It also decreases the mobilization of calcium from the bone. Mobilization of calcium from the bone. Thus, calcitonin has a decreasing influence on blood calcium level. So this is the presentation, schematic representation. With this, you can remember all the points. As I told, vitamin D, parathyroid hormone stimulates, and thus it will active form of calcitriol, which is formed, that will enhances the calcium absorption by stimulating the protein which are present in the intestine, so that it will help to increase the serum calcium level. Then parathyroid hormone, it will help the reabsorption of the calcium by the renal tubular cells so that the calcium level in the blood increases. Bone calcium, it takes place, its action takes place both ways. One is demineralization and decalcification, which is carried out by parathyroid hormone, and calcitriol and calcitonin, they will help to mineralize as well as calcium, so that when the calcium level increases, it is utilized in the formation of the bone, or so that osteoblast will be involved, and thus the osteoclast will be involved so that the calcium enters in the bone where the mineralization and calcification takes place. So in that way the blood calcium level is maintained within normal limits as per the response of this calcium concentration body will respond. So this we call it as a calcium homeostasis. How it is covered, just in short way I have mentioned. which are the four major processes that will be carried out with the help of these three different hormones and three different organs. How? Absorption of calcium from the intestine by vitamin D action, reabsorption of calcium from kidney by parathyroid hormone as well as vitamin D, demineralization of bone by the action of parathyroid hormone, which is facilitated by the vitamin D, and mineralization of bone through the action of calcitonin. So these are the four major processes by which calcium level is maintained within normal limits, that is about 9 to 11 milligram per deciliter. All of you got it? What is how you will explain the calcium homeostasis? With the help of three different organs, that is bone, kidney and intestine, and the three different hormones such as parathyroid hormone, vitamin D and calcitonin. So vitamin D, it helps in absorption of the calcium from the intestine, reabsorption of the calcium from the kidney as well as demineralization. But before demineralization, it will facilitate parathyroid hormone so that the demineralization of bone takes place through the action of parathyroid hormone. Right? Then parathyroid hormone, it reabsorbs the calcium from the kidney as well as demineralization of bone. While as calcitonin, it helps in mineralization as well or calcification of bone so that it will help to decrease the blood calcium level. So these are the four major processes by which calcium level will be maintained within normal limits. So what happens, as I told that to maintain the calcium level, but if the calcium level is too high, how it plays role? If calcium level is too low, how it will play role? That we have to see. As I told that the calcitonin plays important role to decrease the calcium level. So it will stimulate the calcitonin. So it increases the calcium deposition in the bone. It decreases the calcium uptake by the intestine. It decreases the reabsorption of the calcium so that the calcium level decreases. So if the calcium levels are low, that is they are decreased, it will stimulate mainly the parathyroid gland. Along this parathyroid is along with vitamin D, it is facilitated by the vitamin D. So that this parathyroid hormone, it increases the calcium release from the bone. It helps action of vitamin D to increase the calcium uptake in the intestine. It increases the calcium reabsorption from the kidney so that the calcium level increases. So thus the blood calcium level will be maintained within normal limits. So the first figure, which schematic presentation, or this way you can explain both are correct. So thus it will help to maintain the blood calcium level within normal limits. So this question is very much important. Always ask in examination, MCQ question, short answer, long essay during Viva examination. So all of you should remember. Now the next part is clinical aspect, right? So either deficiency of calcium or certain conditions the calcium level increases. So decreased calcium level is called as hypocalcemia, while as increased calcium level is called as hypercalcemia. So what are the cause for hypocalcemia? All of you know that it will bind with the albumin. So if albumin level is low, it will decrease the calcium level. It will not be transported. So its level will decrease. Then hypoparathyroidism, all of you know thyroid gland is involved and parathyroid hormone action takes place with this. So if its action is low, then ultimately the blood calcium level decreases. In magnesium deficiency also the calcium level decreases because it is involved in various enzyme activity, right? So kinases enzyme adenylate cyclase enzyme and kinases enzyme. So in magnesium deficiency, the blood calcium level decreases. Then alcoholism, also it will decrease the calcium. It will, what we can say, there will be excretion of the calcium and its level also decreases. More excretion and less absorption. So don't confuse. Then chemotherapy treatment, obviously it will affect the calcium level. Vitamin D deficiency, because it is one of the important hormone to enhance absorption of the calcium in the intestine. Then malnutrition, obviously because proteins, it will bind with the targeted proteins, so it's deficiency. Then renal insufficiency, because reabsorption of the calcium by renal tubules. So obviously whenever there is renal insufficiency, hypocalcemia will be there. Acute pancreatitis, that will also tend to decrease the calcium level. So these are the different causes where the blood calcium level decreases. How you will come to know what symptoms you will find in the patients? Mainly seizures, muscle cramps and seizures, along with the neurological changes such as tingling on the fingers you can observe. So these are the major important symptoms, but many times it will be the asymptomatic. Many times it will be the asymptomatic. So which are other symptoms? Tingling, then mental changes, then tetany will be observed. Decreased calcium is nothing but the tetany. Muscle cramps due to changes in the muscle excitability, because it is involved in muscle excitability, all of you know. Then cardiac signs, abnormal ECG, because we have seen calcium function through cardiac function. Then seizures. So these are all the symptoms which are observed when the calcium level decreases. So tetany is muscle cramps or spasm or tremors which can occur anywhere, mainly on the fingers, along with that sometimes on the faces as well as scalps, that we call muscle cramps. So this will occur due to decreased calcium level. Then increased calcium level, it is called as hypercalcemia. What is the cause? Exactly reverse, that is hyperparathyroidism. Then cancer, multiple myeloma, breast, lung and renal, these all cancers. So these are all involved. So different cancers such as breast cancer, lung cancer or renal cancer. Bone metastasis, so that is very much important because many times the main cause is this one only. Then vitamin A toxicity and kidney stones. So these are all will tend to increase the calcium level because of demineralization of the bone mainly. Along with that, what it will decrease, it will increase the absorption of the calcium. So in that way the calcium level in the blood increases, so it is called as hypercalcemia. So what are the symptoms? Neurological symptoms such as confusion, irritability, depression, as along with the psychiatric, that is depression and lethargy. So these are the different symptoms. Along with that, GI issues, intestinal absorption is affected. So anorexia, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, constipation. Renal issues, polyuria, more urine, more calcium will be excreted, and so that the renal tubule absorption will be affected. Then renal stones, musculoskeletal issues, mainly the bone or joint pain, muscle weakness, cardiac arrhythmias, these all will tend to increase the calcium level in the. How you will diagnose either increased level or decreased level? How you will come to know? Serum calcium level estimation. For that purpose, you will study it separately in the practical estimation of serum calcium. Then chest X-ray, measurement of electrolytes, that will also come to know the understand the calcium concentration. Then blood urea nitrogen, creatinine, ionized calcium, phosphate, alkaline phosphatase. These all will also help along with the serum calcium estimation to diagnose different conditions such as hypothyroidism, hypoparathyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, different cancers, then renal stones, renal insufficiency. So these all will help to diagnose. Along with that, protein immunoelectrophoresis to determine what is the cause behind that, is maybe whether it is a multiple myeloma or what, that will also help to understand the calcium concentration. Then measurement of parathyroid hormone and urinary excretion of calcium with or without phosphate. So either more phosphorus or without phosphorus, means less phosphorus. So along with the measurement of parathyroid hormone. So these are the different estimation which will also help to understand along with this serum calcium to come to the conclusion what is the cause for decreased serum calcium level. So when you will go for estimation of serum calcium level? When in which patients you will advise that there is a necessary to estimate the serum calcium level? Neurological symptoms, irritability, seizures, renal calculi, suspected malignancies, polyuria, polydipsia, chronic renal failure, prolonged drug use, that is in many conditions vitamin D will be given, thiazide derivatives will be a combination of the drugs. So these all will tend to increase the these drugs used will tend to increase the blood calcium level. So it will lead to hypercalcemia and that can be detected. So other than increased calcium level, decreased calcium level in this chronic renal failure and also in hypercalcemia. So thus these are the different symptoms where there are possibility of either increase in the calcium or decrease in the calcium. So seizures, irritability, neurological symptoms, the calcium level decreases, while as in this condition the calcium level increases. So in different condition either it is increased or decreased, that we need to find out, so that in these conditions there is a necessity to estimate the serum calcium level along with phosphorus also. So which are the conditions? Along with tetany, rickets, because vitamin D action plays important role and deficiency of vitamin D will lead to rickets. So defective calcification of bones, that may be due to low levels of the vitamin D in the body and due to deficiency of calcium and phosphorus, or both, either deficiency of calcium and deficiency of phosphorus or deficiency of both, that will lead to rickets. So the levels of serum calcium may be low or it may be normal, and that all depend upon the concentration of the vitamin D. An increase in the level of alkaline phosphatase is a characteristic feature of rickets. All of you know that it is a bone marker. Alkaline phosphatase, it is a bone marker. So increased level of alkaline phosphatase will also help to diagnose the rickets. Renal rickets, it is associated with damage to the renal tissues, either bone or renal or both, that we need to find out. So it is associated with bone damage as well as the renal damage. So it is renal rickets, causing impairment in the synthesis of calcitriol, and thus there will be decreased calcium level. It can be treated by administering calcitriol hormone. Osteoporosis, again it is one of the condition, deficiency of calcium, mainly as age increases we can say. It will be observed in men and women both, but it will be more common in women. Right? So what is the reason behind that, you know? Which hormone? Yes, which hormone? You are not studying?
Estrogen.
Yes, exactly. So that is mainly responsible to demineralize the bone, and thus osteoporosis will take place, more common in postmenopausal women than that of the men. So elderly people are at a risk for this, but it is predominantly postmenopausal women. How the name is derived, that is a Latin word, and it mainly affects. So what it will cause is demineralization of bone. That's why progressive loss of bone mass you can observe, so that you can see the skin also how it appears, as well as the bone becomes soft and fragile, so that they will bone fracture possibility is more, right? So it results in frequent bone fractures, which are major cause of disability among the elders. Is the cause is it is mainly ability to produce calcitriol from vitamin D is decreased. Ability to produce calcitriol from vitamin D is decreased in older people. Immobilized or sedentary individuals tend to have a decreased bone mass. All of you know proteins along with this the exercise, it will help to maintain the strength of the bones. Right? Sedentary lifestyle, it will tend to decrease the bone mass. So in this way, this is all about the rickets, osteoporosis, osteomalacia, and the decreased serum calcium, that is titanium. Right? So these are the clinical conditions associated with calcium metabolism. So here we have covered calcium. Is it clear? Regulation, which organs? Bone, kidney, and intestine. Which hormones? Yes, parathyroid hormone, calcitonin, and vitamin D, right? So demineralization and mineralization, absorption in the intestine, then reabsorption by the renal tubular cells, as well as resorption by the renal cells. Resorption and reabsorption, right? So in that way, it will help to increase the excretion of calcium or decrease the excretion of the calcium, and thus it will help to maintain within normal limits. And obviously, any of these process, when it is affected, either tetany will occur, or rickets, or osteomalacia, or the last one is osteoporosis. Yes. Now the next element we'll see is phosphorus. Here we have seen the calcium metabolism till now. Now the next phosphorus, but we cannot separate, because all of you know that this calcium, it occurs with the phosphorus only. How it is? Hydroxyapatite. You have seen the structure formula in last class, right? Calcium, how it appears is mainly the hydroxyapatite crystal in that form. So along with the phosphorus. So it is present in the body in adult person about 400 to 700 grams. About 80% of this is combined with the calcium, which is present in bones and teeth. 80% of this is present in bones and teeth. While as calcium, 99% of calcium is present in bones and teeth, and 1% in extracellular fluid. So, and here phosphorus again, other tissues as well as extracellular fluid, it will be 20%. What are the sources? Again, milk and milk products, then cereals, beans, eggs, fish, and meat. These are the sources of phosphorus. Recommended dietary allowance 800 mg per day in adults, pregnancy and lactation 1200 mg per day. And again, here the optimum ratio of calcium phosphorus should be maintained, that is 1 to 2 is to 2 is to 1, which is very much important. And then only the serum calcium and phosphorus level will be maintained within normal limits. So absorption, how it takes place? Obviously, vitamin D will help. Vitamin D stimulates the absorption of the phosphorus along with calcium. That is most first important part. Then acidic pH favors the absorption of the phosphorus. Phytates and oxalates, it decreases the absorption of the phosphorus from the intestine. Similar to that of the calcium, vitamin D and acidic pH, it will enhances the absorption of the calcium, while as phytates and oxalates decreases the absorption of the phosphate from the intestine. So optimum absorption occurs when the dietary ratio is this much, calcium and phosphorus. So we have to maintain it, which is very much important. Now what are the function? It is a constituent of bone and teeth as it occurs along with calcium. It helps to maintain the acid-base regulation. How? Anyone? Acid-base regulation? Phosphorus involved in acid-base regulation? Yes. To maintain the acid-base balance, what is required? Yes. Don't know. Buffers? What are buffers? So which buffer you can correlate with this phosphorus? Phosphate buffer system, different buffer system, bicarbonate buffer system, phosphate buffer system, right? Hmm? Then energy storage. Yes, energy storage, anyone? Phosphorylation reactions, ATP, right? So it is component of that. Along with that, it is component of fatty acids also. Which fatty acids? Phospholipids. So in that way it is involved in or composition of the cell membrane. It is a constituent of the cell membrane. How? By action of phospholipids, because it is a bilipid layer and phospholipid is one of the important constituent of the cell membrane. Then nucleic acids. How? Nucleic acid? Nucleotides, nucleosides. Which one? With phosphorus, without phosphorus?
Nucleotides is with phosphorus and nucleosides is without phosphorus.
So in that way it forms the structure of nucleic acid. Nucleotides such as NAD, NADP, cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP. So it is involved in various metabolic reaction where there is phosphorylation and dephosphorylation reaction takes place. Then regulation of enzyme activity. As it is involved in these various reaction, it regulates different enzyme activity. You have studied, I think, no, glycogen metabolism. At that time, you can understand it better how the glycogen synthase enzyme is stimulated by this NAD and it will be altered its concentration. And thus, either glycogenesis is favored or glycogenolysis is favored. So these are the different nucleotides and thus it helps to regulate the different enzyme activity. So these are various functions. So functions of calcium and functions of phosphorus. More commonly asked question, very routinely asked questions. So you can prepare for this. Its level in the blood, mainly the phosphorus which is present in the blood is in the form of inorganic phosphate. It is in the form of inorganic phosphate, while as calcium it is present in three different forms, while as the phosphorus which we measure is in the inorganic form only. So its concentration is 2.5 to 4.5 milligram per deciliter. It is controlled by the kidney where tubular reabsorption is reduced by the parathyroid hormone. So how we have seen calcium metabolism, like that this will be also reacting in same way. So the phosphate which is not reabsorbed in the renal tubule act as an important urinary buffer. Now the clinical condition, hypophosphatemia. We are seeing what are sources, RDA and absorption and the functions. Now, and as we know the blood phosphorus level. So what will happen when the phosphorus level is altered? So when the phosphorus level decreases, then normal, that is 2.5, is the lower level. So less than 2.5 is called as hypophosphatemia. When it will be observed, hyperparathyroidism, reverse to that of calcium. So high parathyroid hormone increases the phosphate excretion by the kidneys, and thus it will lead to decreased serum phosphorus level. Congenital defects of tubular phosphate reabsorption such as Fanconi syndrome. What will happen in this Fanconi syndrome is the phosphate is lost from the body due to defect in the tubular reabsorption. Due to defect in the tubular reabsorption. And what is the defect is? It is a congenital defect. So in that condition, the phosphorus level decreases than the normal, that is 2.5 milligram. So what symptoms you can observe when the phosphorus level decreases is muscle pain and weakness of the muscles, decreased myocardial output. So even in cardiac conditions, estimation of this phosphorus is useful. If hypophosphatemia is chronic, rickets in children or osteomalacia in adult also develops along with the calcium deficiency. Now, next is hyperphosphatemia, when the phosphorus level increases more than 4.5 milligram per deciliter. If phosphorus level increases more than 4.5 milligram per deciliter, it will lead to increased phosphorus level, and what is the cause is reverse to that calcium, that is hypoparathyroidism and renal failure. These are the two important causes to increase phosphorus level in the blood. So decrease in serum calcium concentration lead to tetany and seizures. Along with this, increased phosphorus level. So increased phosphorus and decrease in serum calcium. So along with that, it will show tetany and seizure. So when we compare with calcium and phosphorus, how this parathyroid hormone and vitamin D plays role is, so parathyroid hormone stimulate renal reabsorption, while as it will inhibit renal reabsorption of phosphorus. So as I told, reverse to that of calcium, how this parathyroid plays role is, calcium reabsorption is stimulated by parathyroid, while as phosphate reabsorption is inhibited by the parathyroid hormone. So how the reverse condition occurs is, if the calcium level increases, serum phosphorus level decreases. So this is role of parathyroid hormone. It stimulates the bone resorption, it inhibits bone formation and mineralization, as well as it stimulates synthesis of calcitriol. The role of calcitriol, so calcitriol will favor both concentration increases, calcium as well as phosphorus. That you have to remember. Parathyroid, serum calcium increases while as serum phosphorus decreases, while as calcitriol renal reabsorption of the bone, as well as it stimulates the bone resorption. So totally it will help to increase concentration of calcium as well as concentration of the serum calcium, minerals calcium and phosphorus. So how which points we have covered is how it occurs, what is its concentration in the body, how it is distributed throughout the body, that is its occurrence, that is in introduction part. Then next, what are the sources, what is the daily requirement, how it is absorbed, which factors enhances its absorption and which factors inhibits its absorption or decreases the absorption. Then next one is functions. Then how it is regulated, which organs are involved in regulation. Then which are the clinical conditions, hypercalcemia, hypocalcemia, hyperphosphatemia, hypophosphatemia, and how that takes place, due to which processes are carried out with the help of vitamin D, parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin. So these, you can take it as an assignment, that these are the questions which will be asked more commonly on calcium and phosphorus. If you prepare for this, these two minerals will be covered, and many times there is a possibility of long essay question on calcium metabolism. So I have mentioned calcium, three long essay questions, and along with that you can write about the functions of calcium, and in regulation you can mention the regulation of phosphorus also. Then the clinical conditions such as rickets, osteoporosis, osteomalacia, and tetany, that you can prepare, and the functions of calcium and functions of phosphorus. So these are all questions related to this mineral, that is calcium and phosphorus metabolism. Along with that, many cases will be there. So mainly the elderly conditions, the osteomalacia and osteoporosis condition in children, the bone formation is deformities in bone formation takes place. So that you can see even in scurvy, vitamin C deficiency. Along with that, the calcium level is decreased. So you have to correlate this all by understanding how it plays its role. So rickets in children, uh, so in that age, so whenever the case will be there, you have to focus that age is mentioned, what is the clinical condition related to bone, it means rickets and osteomalacia, osteoporosis, and you can correlate with the age, so that you can write rickets and osteomalacia, you can compare and you can write. Then again, decreased calcium, tetany with the neurological symptoms you can write. So whenever the case will be asked, you need to focus these symptoms which you observe, and accordingly it will help to diagnose the disease. Other than that, different estimations as I told, so alkaline phosphatase enzyme, then immunoelectrophoresis, multiple myeloma condition, in that level, how it will alter the level of this calcium and phosphorus, and accordingly you can diagnose the disease. So because as per the CBME pattern, there is a more focus on this case-based studies. So once the topic will be covered, I'll give the list of few cases, so that you can prepare accordingly. Along with those cases, diagnosis will ask where is the defect. So you need to explain whether there is cause of that, not only diagnosis, what is the cause of that, what diagnosis, and what is the treatment part. In that way you can prepare for different cases. So once all mineral topic will be over, I'll mail you the cases related to this, and you can prepare for that. Is the topic clear, calcium and phosphorus?
Yes,
Yes
ma'am.
or no? Okay. So up to 8, whatever syllabus will cover, up to that there will be, this syllabus will be there for first internal examination, right? You will have, shortly you will have the first internal examination, and in that examination you will have this chapter up to calcium and phosphorus. So one mineral already covered, that is iron, when we have started with the anemia along with the physiology. So iron, calcium and phosphorus, these three minerals will be there for first internal examination. Is it clear? So by that time you prepare for these questions also, right? If possible, I'll give case of this calcium, phosphorus and iron if you want in next class. So I need input from you. If you want, then and then only I'll prepare only for these mineral cases and I'll give you. Otherwise, once the topic will be over, at that time I'll give you. So what you suggest? So you don't want, no answer means you don't want the cases now.
Ma'am,
Okay, fine.
we
So
want.
no one has answered no. Why this much time to say just yes or no? Huh?
Ma'am, it's the internet issue.
Okay, okay, right, fine. Okay, I'll try in my next class. I'll give you the case about this calcium, phosphorus, and iron. Okay, so that you can prepare for that. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Any difficulty in understanding the regulation of the calcium metabolism, that is calcium homeostasis? So with the picture, when you keep in front, then you read the text. That is, I have mentioned separately, role of parathyroid hormone, role of vitamin D, role of calcitonin, and you keep that image in front of you, then you will understand it better. And once you understand, again as I told, you can cover as per the time as well as the marks which are there for that questions. According to that, you can decide only just the schematic presentation or descriptive description is required, and accordingly you can write. If it is for only short answer 3-4 marks, then you can just mention the schematic presentation. But if it is a long essay, few lines you need to explain along with that image. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all the best for your examination. I before that we are going to conduct the MCQ test also. So you prepare for these. Okay. So in next class
Okay,
we'll
ma'am.
see the next mineral, and before that I'll give you the cases also. Okay. Fine. We'll stop here today.
Yes, ma'am.